Kurt, are you willing to share with us a little bit about just what keeps you up at night? What is worrying you right now?
Well, it's kind of, a tip of the hat to Karen, because we're operating a child care facility, and that is a gap in the community. We've been fortunate enough that we were able to stay open through the spring and summer and the fall months, and we worked very diligently with LPS and with Lancaster County Health Department to put every safeguard in place we could possibly do. Because as Karen said, our families are relying on us. They need us here now more than ever so they can continue to go to work. They don't have other options if we're to close. It's not like if the 40 kids that come here, if we had to close tomorrow, those parents wouldn't be able to find 40 open slots in the community. And so there's a lot of pressure then to make sure you do everything right, down to the very, the last thing you can do. And even doing all that, it's still out of our hands. Someone could come into the building, a child could come into the building who's under 5 years of age, who's not masked, who tests positive, and now I have a serious situation on my hands. And then I would have multiple teachers that are going to have to quarantine, and we're not going to be able to make ratios, and we will have to temporarily shut down. And then we will let down our families and not fulfill our mission. So doing everything we can to control something that isn't controllable is what keeps me up at night.
I appreciate you being willing to share that, Kurt. Mario, would you share with us what's keeping you up at night?
Absolutely. I think I can just really echo with what all my fellow panelists have been saying, but our families pre-COVID have been struggling with so many hardships, whether it's economic hardships, job securities, family home hardships and situations. And our youth have been struggling through that in many of those cases, but COVID has highlighted those situations, and those struggles have become more prominent in their lives. And Bill, you said it best, our families are drowning. And so right now our families, we're just finding them in even worse situations, and we're trying to do everything that we can to make sure that we are able to support them, provide resources. And unfortunately, some situations are out of our hand, but we're still there every day to provide those resources in hopes that they can get connected to other resources. I was talking to one of my matches. I actually had the opportunity to hang out with one of my matches a few weeks ago, and I was talking to the little, who's 9 years old. And he was very open and transparent with me how, in his words, his family is falling apart. And I asked him, through that conversation, how's school going? And he said that was a huge struggle because he's remote learning right now. So he's not near his friends, he's not near his support system, and he doesn't have a support system at home. And he really clings on to his mentors. So right now, just the struggle that our youth go through every single day, every single night is really what keeps me up, because we have, we're just one of many great mentoring organizations here in Lincoln and other services that provide for our community. But and there's so much more need beyond that, and so just knowing that our communities, pockets of our communities are struggling, and that I wish, like all of my fellow panelists, we could just snap our fingers and make all of this go away. So definitely looking forward, as Karen said, when COVID wraps up, we can get back, and hopefully our families can have some sort of stability back in their lives.
Thank you, Mario. I appreciate that. Moving into our next question, I know all of you have chosen your roles, have chosen your organizations, have chosen your work, because you do have hope, because you do believe in a better future. So I'm so eager to hear from each of you, but I want to hear about what gives you hope, even in a really hard time, even in a really, really difficult, unusually difficult period of time in our community, in families, and in our world. I know that you hold hope, and so I want to hear from each of you what is giving you hope right now. So let's start off with Karen. Karen, what's giving you hope?
What gives me hope is this next generation. because this generation of young people will have lived through a time that most of us will never experience in our lives. They're living through a pandemic, and they're living through the most stressful challenges ever, and yet they hopefully will emerge, and they will now become our next leaders, that they will take the lessons learned and they will want to become an elected official. We had just one quick story. We were switching out some chairs in our office, and we took the old chairs outside to the dumpster. And my staff member was saying there was a lady that was waving at her as she was taking the chairs out. And it was a mom, saw them pushing the chairs out to the dumpster and asked, could she have that chair for her second grade daughter? Her daughter had been doing remote learning and had been sitting on milk crates. So imagine the elation she had at getting this used office chair, but the fact that now her daughter has somewhat of a desk to do her work and continue her education. So my hope is that that young lady will remember the challenge she had as she was trying to go about her schoolwork, that now when she becomes a leader and an elected official, she will re-engage in the community, and she'll make sure that if there's ever an opportunity like a pandemic or something that's stressful, that she will make sure resources are in place so another small child like herself won't have to have that stress of having the needs to be able to continue their education. And so I do have hope, and I have hope, and it's going to come through this next generation.
That is a great picture. Thank you for leaving us with that picture, Karen. I love that. Bill, what gives you hope?
Oh man, so much thing. When I'm looking at how we started with COVID, it was a challenging time, and I'm a person that needs information. I'm a learner, and with the lack of information, it about drove me crazy at first, especially when I'm trying to make decisions that could affect families and young people. The cool thing was it gave an opportunity to take that step back to start looking at things in a different way. And it was fun to see people reaching out to other people that hadn't done so in a long time. So some relationships have strengthened in it. People started focusing on how can I better myself, and eating better and exercising and taking walks. And so those type of things were just refreshing to see around me as all this uneasiness was happening. And then the Floyd death also created such unease in our community. And you could look at it as, oh, look how devastating, and look at all the bad things that are happening out of it. One of the cool things that happened out of it was through our collaborative, which is JDAI through Juvenile Justice, we created collective voices where young people got an opportunity to share what they need from community members, leaders, and that type of stuff, and got in front of them and spoke publicly, and it was taped, and overcoming some of their fears and really working through it to create real change rather than talking about wanting change but nothing coming out of it. So that type of stuff gives me hope, because those opportunities are there, and it's fun to see people engaging and with open arms in those opportunities. So.
Thank you, Bill. Kurt, what gives you hope?
Well, my answer will be fairly short and a little cliche, so I apologize, but it's the kids. They're the role models here these last 6 months. The adults are grousing about, why do I have to follow the arrows in Walmart, and why do I have to wear masks, and why do I have to do this, and why do I have to do that? And the kids are just coming to school, and they're learning, and they're making friends, and they're smiling, and they're enjoying their life regardless of what's going on around them. And I think we can all take a big lesson from that there are some obstacles, but the important things in life, the human connections and the relationships and the growth as individuals is still taking place, and we need to celebrate and really marvel at that with these kids, and that's what gives me hope, is seeing those smiles on the faces, and you can see the smile in the eyes of the masks, behind the masks.
Thank you, Kurt. I do like that you can smile with your eyes. That's been that's been important. I don't think I quite understood that pre-mask as well as I do now. Mario, what gives you hope?
Yeah, I'm gonna follow what Kurt just said. It's our youth, you know, and my wife's an educator at a Title I school, and she talks about how the adults are the ones that really have been struggling through some of these, you know, local health mandates, and just, you know, guidelines where, you know, the youth come in and, you know, they follow the rules and they're just happy to be around their friends, their community. But and so they're the ones that are going to make the big difference, the next change, and, you know, in our upcoming world. But also, what gives me hope is the community. I think this pandemic has provided us an opportunity to make that real change and actually take the steps to actually do the walk to walk. And so, yeah, we have seen relationships that have strengthened. So we have really seen relationships that have been rebuilt, that haven't, you know, that have fallen apart over the years, or we've even seen new relationships form. And we've really been able to see, okay, what, you know, what does your mission really mean? What do you really do? And how can we be part of that? And so relationships here in Lincoln, especially me as a transplant, I've lived in major cities throughout my life, and Lincoln is definitely the smallest city I've ever lived in. But what I give credit to Lincoln is that the way Lincoln comes together to collaborate and network is unlike any other. And so I hear it all the time. I see it all the time. So the hope is our children, but also those leaders in the community are trying to make that difference, or actually are doing the walk to walk.
That's great. Thank you, Mario. And we asked each of our panelists to choose only 3 questions that they would respond to, just anticipating that we wouldn't have enough time. But Sheila, I do want to give you the opportunity to answer this question too, because I think it's such an important question and so nice. So we're going to give you an extra if you would like to respond to that question as well.
Well, I think that all of us who work in nonprofits have to have hope, right? Because otherwise, what are we doing if we don't have hope? Because we know that if we can meet this need or meet that need, that we're giving that kid or that family the boost that they need to go on and do whatever they want to do. And so of course we have hope. And like all the previous panelists have said, the hope is in our youth. They're more actively engaged in what's going on in the community and also in the United States as a whole than I remember being when I was a kid. You know, my own kids, when I talk to them, they are so interested and invested in what's going on. And so that totally gives me hope.
Thank you. And I just have to say, you all give me hope.